Hello again. And today I think it's a good time to speak about another cheap attempt by the Messianic movement or the Nazarite movement, or again, common denominator is false Judaism that tries to mix Jewish beliefs with Christian beliefs. And they have this cheap, interesting but cheap attempt to try to make it more Jewish, to try to take their ideas and introduce Jewishness to them. And what I'm referring to is right now, as of the time of this video, we are in the middle of counting of the Omer. Sfirat Omer, it's a commandment that Hashem gave the Jewish people to do right after Pesach, leading up to the holiday of Shavuot. And I would like to say for the record that personally, I don't believe any of these events mentioned in the New Testament are of any validity. But let's suppose, God forbid, that they are true, and let's explain how ridiculous and how some people just don't know how to add. Simple math. It's just simple. 1 plus 2 equals 3, and some people cannot do that. Okay? And I am referring to the false attempt of trying to say that supposedly Yeshua rose to heaven on the 40th day of the Omer. Now, I don't know whether to laugh or to burst out laughing. Literally, I don't know which one to do, whether I should laugh so hard or not, because it is so ridiculous. Okay? Now, before we do this, for the sake of those who are not very familiar with the story, let us remind those people. Supposedly, Jesus or Yeshua was in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. And supposedly, he resurrects on the first day of the week, which is Sunday. Meaning, Shabbat from Saturday night to Friday night, that's 1 full day. From Friday night to Thursday night, that's a second full day. And from Thursday night all the way back to Wednesday night, that's 3 full days. So if that's the case, the only scenario we have in front of us is that this supposed event, he was supposedly crucified and buried on Wednesday morning, sometime before the sunset of the Pesach, the first day of Pesach. Okay? Now, there are 2 scenarios. Either the Last Supper, which occurred on Tuesday night, remember? Okay, because we said the event took place on Wednesday. Either this Last Supper supposedly was a Pesach Seder, okay, which really doesn't make any sense, okay. Either that was a Pesach Seder, and he was crucified and buried on Pesach, on the first day of Pesach, okay. Either that happened, which doesn't make any sense why they would try to hurry up and bury him before sundown, because it doesn't matter. You don't bury anybody on a Yom Tov. Okay? So it doesn't really make any sense. So we'll throw that scenario out the window because it's not really a possibility. Also, if you take a simple calendar and you go back, one that converts the Jewish date with the secular date, you will find that there's not one day where the 15th of Nisan falls on a Wednesday. Okay? Not once. Throughout the whole 50, 60 year period of this supposedly Jesus' supposedly lifetime. Okay, so the only scenario is that it happened on the 14th, meaning that this Last Supper really wasn't a Pesach Seder. It was some type of other meal, and he had some type of meal with his disciples, to say farewell, etc., etc. Okay. Personally, again, I don't believe any of this thing happened. This is all false. But let's just suppose it did. Okay? So if that's the case, okay, meaning he was crucified on Wednesday morning. The first day of Pesach is on Thursday. First day of the Omer is on Friday. Second day of the Omer is on Saturday, on Shabbat. Third day of the Omer was Sunday. And supposedly he spent 40 days, okay, which is trying to parallel mystical things with Moshe Rabbeinu's 40 days in Har Sinai, etc. This mystical number of 40, there are many, many secrets to this. but at the end of the day, it doesn't add up. Okay, you cannot stick a square block into a circle in a circle hole that just doesn't fit. Okay, so here we go. If 40 plus 2, because we said that Friday was one day, Shabbat was second day, so you add 40 days to that, that's 42. That is not 40. So supposedly this magical number of 40 and how Yeshua supposedly ascended to heaven on the 40th day is just a bunch of baloney. Okay? That's the most realistic scenario. If you were to say, well, no, it was really a Pesach Seder, which doesn't really make sense, and as I've shown, there was no date in the Jewish calendar within the year 0 to the year 60, that the 15th of Pesach, which is the 15th of Nisan, which is the first day of Pesach, falls on a Wednesday. So if you were to take that scenario for some crazy reason, okay, it would be 43, because that would be Thursday was the first day of the Omer, Friday was the second day, Saturday was the third, and then you add 40 days to that, so that's 43. So either way you look at it, it doesn't make sense. Now, if you want to take the second approach, which was that it wasn't really a Pesach Seder, okay, so why claim that it's a Pesach Seder when it wasn't? I don't know. Okay? Another scenario is, okay, the Torah clearly says that the firstborn has to fast on Erev Pesach. Now, if I'm not mistaken, supposedly Yeshua was a firstborn, and as they claim, he was the first of the firstborns. He was the number one firstborn, the ultimate firstborn, and yet this firstborn was eating a meal, okay, on Erev Pesach. He was supposed to be fasting, yet he was eating a meal. Okay, that's another mistake by the writers of the New Testament. Okay, so you either way you look at it, it's like it doesn't add up. It simply doesn't add up. And with all this said, we can conclude that this myth of the 40th day is just that, a myth, just like everything else. Just like you find anything you see in the New Testament, anything that is true, it is not new. And anything that is new is not true. It's as simple as that. Folks, I just showed you a very, very simple way of analyzing how this myth of the 40th day and the mystics of the 40 days and why he spent 40 days is all a bunch of baloney. Don't fall for it. They try to make it sound Jewish, but again, it is not Jewish. It is a pagan idea, and they're trying to mix it, and it's not Judaism. So call them out and share the video. Thanks.